Um, so as you can see, it says we're not going away. This is an abrupt stream, impromptu. You guys can join in if you want to. And all praise be to the Most High God. The Most High God comes first. In front of you, you're seeing Man of Steel is a movie about Superman, his origin, and his conflicts. Gunn's movie is DC's Guardians of the Galaxy with a guy who parodies Superman, who doesn't star in his own movie. I have to agree. We've been speaking about parodies for a while. A parody is sort of an imitation of a real thing in a mocking fashion or for humor. That is what a parody is. And James Gunn definitely did a parody of Superman in his movie. And I mean, you can do whatever you want as a creative person, okay? So let me make it abundantly clear. Unlike the haters of Snyder out here who will, go in on Zack Snyder for his take on Superman, I'm not going to do that. James Gunn has all right, as a director, to interpret Superman how he sees fit. And let's not forget, Tim Burton had a version of Superman that he was bringing out that did not match up with the comics. In fact, Tim Burton's Batman, off the jump, yes, it was inspired by Frank Miller's Batman, but it was not really a comic booky Batman either. In fact, the most important point for a lot of people to understand is the guy who started really paying tribute to graphic novels and really being, dedicated to the graphic novels. And there are two people. The first one is Zack Snyder. The other one is Robert Rodriguez. These two guys, whenever they do, and James Cameron referred to them, whenever they do whatever version of movie they're doing off a comic book or anime, they're very dedicated to the source material. So you will see Zack Snyder's 300, you go and read the 300 graphic novel, and you swear to God, with little nuances, that Zack Snyder ripped that thing off the graphic novel and put it on the screen, okay? You look at Alita Battle Angel. You look at the Magma. You look at the anime. And you look at what Robert Rodriguez brought to the screen, and you're like, fucking A, this is Alita Battle Angel. You know what I'm saying? You look at Zack Snyder's Watchmen. You look at Zack Snyder's Man of Steel. And the fucking thing, the fucking thing is just like the Dark Knight Returns you're seeing on the screen. That's a Superman you're seeing on the screen. Even the introduction of Cyborg is from the Cyborg run, one of the Cyborg runs. It literally is ripped from the Cyborg run. So in terms of comic accuracy, there was never a great emphasis on it by Warner Brothers before. Tim Burton really wasn't trying to, give tremendous tribute to the comics, just write a good comic book story. Even Christopher Nolan took liberties. There was things that came from comics, but more or less not iconic things, that you remember. But Zack Snyder has this ability, and also Robert Rodriguez, of showing you things that just feel like they're ripped straight from the comics. And Zack has that uncanny ability of being able to do that. Zack Snyder's Justice League. His takes on the comics are always serious takes because comics, when you read them, as much as certain things in comics are ridiculous, the characters in the comics always take themselves seriously. They're not trying to be parodies of society. The really good comics, you look at the best-selling comics, Death of Superman, the Dark Knight Returns, the Killing Joke. These are not funny comics. These are not hee hee ha ha. These are not comedies. All-Star Superman, a very sincere comic, but it's not a fucking comedy, right? You look at, these are the best-selling ones, right? You look at Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman. You look at Superman Red Sun. You look at Superman Batman, right? All the runs, they're serious in tone, right? So when people say, this is a really comic booky movie, what the fuck are you really saying? The look of it is comic booky. And I'm like, I don't know what you mean. If you think comic books are bright, shiny, sunny things, this is your perception of it because you probably haven't read a fucking comic in your life. Then okay. If you take the comic book movies, you literally take the word comic and you think it's comedian, and you think comic books are books. Well, okay. You took it literally. But really, comic books and graphic novels and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, a lot of comics are not funny. They're not. Insightful? Yes. Funny? No. I say this to say, Marvel got away with it for a while, and people are catching up to it and like, what the fuck? When I read Marvel comics, do you know when X-Men 97 came out, the animated series, people loved it. You know why? One, the characters took themselves serious, and two, the action had stakes. People were dying. Even super beings were dying. Mutants. And no matter if it's Sunday cartoons, Superman, the animated series, The Adventures of Superman, or even Batman, the animated series, right? These were darker takes. What made Superman great was the feats of his strength and his ability to take charge of a situation and get it done. When you look at Batman, the animated series, what made Batman great was the darkness of him. He moved in the shadows, but yet he got justice done in other sorts of ways and clever ways, but he got it done. So there wasn't really comedy in these movies or in these animated series, and even in the animated films. In DC, comedy comes second to story. You have a good story, and to the progression of the characters. Every episode of Batman the Animated Series was intriguing, was interesting, was refreshing. Same thing with Superman the Animated Series. Just same thing with Justice League. Same thing with Justice League Unlimited. Just same thing with Dark Justice. But as of late, the slant towards comedy everywhere is just disgusting. I'm tired of it. I'm fed up of it. It's disgusting. Everything's a hee hee ha ha. Why? Because times are hard, so we need a hee hee ha. Well, then you can go to a fucking comedy club. There are venues for that. And you can hee hee ha ha as much as you want. But for God's sakes, when you got to put up stuff on the big screen, please limit your hee hee ha ha when it comes to DC. You want a hee hee ha ha, or you want to deliver hee hee ha ha? Go to a fucking stand-up comedy club and do that. There are venues for that. Okay. Dispatch in Snyder Knight says the level of cope is unprecedented, as this atrocity is being praised as outstanding choreography. 2 hours of Superman being handed his you know what. I never lost faith. I hung up the layer, but she was always ready to come back. There was a moment I thought I would never be Superman again, but there was something inside me that refused to close that chapter, so I decided to keep hope alive, even if silently. Keep the layer in the closet. I didn't throw it away. I haven't forgotten her, just leaving her there, waiting for her time. And when I walked out into the street and someone yelled at me, "Hey, Superman," I smiled, because deep down, it was still him. Never felt like I was living a lie. Actors learn to prepare for the no, but with Superman, I couldn't give up that easily. So I waited. Waited for a long time, and when they finally called, it was like coming home. Henry Cavill's words upon returning as Superman for Black Adam, and before realizing what would not only be his return, but his ultimate farewell as the Man of Steel. Very beautiful. That's him with his sister and her two sons. That little one, the little one who's, what is he doing? He's holding what looks like a bat or a owl. The little one that's holding the owl, that's the one that was boasting in school that his uncle was Superman. So cool. All right. Vulcan Dogan says, I was in the drive-ins tonight to watch a movie, and on the other screen they were playing Superman. I went to the bathroom before my movie started, and on my way out, I watched 1 minute of Superman. And it was the scene where he punches his way out of a glass cube, which happens to be the peak of the movie. I gotta say, the CG sequence and coloring were just comedic. How can a movie that shit get so much positive reviews? And this is the movie that's going to bring the new DCU. This all looks extremely original. The level of hypocrisy is amazing. I did my own research, John Newhook, just to sate my own curiosity and whip this up. Might update it later after Superman 2025 finishes its global theatrical run to do a comparison on gross profitability versus budget advertising, etc. Feel free to share or let me know if something seems wrong. I also seen some places claiming different totals for opening weekends, including one that said Man of Steel did 128 million unadjusted. But I'm not sure where they were getting that data, how reliable it was. Let me know if anyone has any other sources of data that give different numbers. Um, it's reliable because you just have to go to Box Office Mojo and you'll see everything there. So no, Superman 2025 didn't make 116 million. It was 128 million. Zack Snyder confirms he's working on an LAPD SWAT movie. Says the Rebel Moon franchise is on pause as he's waiting to see how we want to move forward. I got sidetracked with this LAPD SWAT movie for Netflix, so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna sort of let that Rebel Moon world boil for a minute, and I'm gonna go do this. Frankly, it was very exhausting, long process during the doing the two movies together, so it was nice to have a bit of a break from it. I love it like crazy, but it's nice to have a bit of a break. So yeah, we'll see after I finish this when I come back where we are with everything. By the way, he has a video game out, Rebel Moon video game. There's a bunch of stuff. There's a comic coming out with Nemesis. So you guys can check out that stuff concerning Rebel Moon. And this is the guy that gave facts, Robbie Calville. Man of Steel is a movie about Superman, his origin, his conflicts. All right. Okay. Let's move on a little bit. David Cornsweet praises Zack Snyder and Henry Cavill's darker version of Superman. Zack Snyder and Henry Cavill explored a side of Superman that hasn't been explored on the big screen. Yep, it's true. It's very true. That's what makes Man of Steel so cool. All right. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be doing the Restore the Snyderverse until the Snyderverse is restored. The same thing for Free Palestine. We're here to do this every single day until the reality manifests itself. Which Batman had the best Batmobile chase scene? Bale, Affleck, or Pattinson? Hope you enjoy this edit I made. And he gives the edit of Batman in what looks like, I believe that's Batman Begins. Then you have Batman v Superman, and then you have the Batman. I'm not going to waste time doing this. You can check it out on Twitter. I think I covered this already. So, in terms of Free Palestine, I want to share with you guys the story of Bella Hadid's family in Palestine. Listen very carefully as Candace Owens covers it. Here we go.
Stunning. The Bella Hadid story is stunning. These people came on ships holding up signs about World War II saying, please, we're refugees, let us into your home. And the Palestinians opened their doors to them. This is the story of Muhammad Hadid and Bella Hadid, the model, Gigi Hadid. He was an infant. His mother had just given birth. They allowed these refugees, these Polish refugees, to live in their homes as refugees because they wanted to help them following a world war. And then one day, they came back to their houses and the doors were locked. They came home, the doors were locked, and guns were being held, and they were told, leave right now, or some soldiers are going to come murder you. Do you guys understand? Just go through that in your head. Wherever it is that you live right now in the world, imagine your family has lived on that land for hundreds and hundreds of years. But this has been your home for hundreds of years. And then you say, oh, you know what? The Ukrainian war is happening right now. I feel really bad. I'm going to allow a Ukrainian to live in my house, maybe here in Tennessee, live in my house. And you allow them and you share with them. And you do this out of the kindness of your heart, right? Because you are being taken over, perhaps by the Spirit of Christ and charity. And one day you come back to your house and the doors are locked. And those refugees that you let in are telling you that if you try to open that door, you are going to die. That is how the land was given to them. That is a fact. No one can dispute that. There was no money. There was no trade. There was no conversation. They were effectively hijacked in their own homes. So the entire story of Israel has been immoral, okay? And it has really hinged upon our ignorance. We have all been ignorant, and it's time to stop. Because once you know the truth, now it is your burden to carry, okay? If you are truly ignorant and you support something, as I did, back when I was a Zionist, hitting the ground, talking about Israel, tweeting about Israel and how we must support Israel, then that's okay. That's going to be acceptable because one day we're all going to have to account before our Creator. I have to hope that that is going to be acceptable, that it was truly ignorance and I believed that I was doing the right thing. But you now know this is not the right thing. And if you keep doing that, thing out of fear, all right, out of, I don't know, a jerk knee reaction because you're scared of being canceled. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be you when you meet your maker. I wouldn't want to be you when you have to stand before the Lord and account for what you allowed to take place because those children are dying. They are being burned to death. They had been carpet bombed. The access to those images, it's at your fingertips. I mean,
the Palestinians deserve human rights. Why did Hamas squander all the aid that was sent to them? A, that's not true, and B, you're telling on yourself. According to a UN report, why was 80% of Gaza's inhabitants relying on international aid before October 7th? How is it that Gaza has been completely deprived of an economy, robbed of all the things that they might derive value from, their land, resources, and labor? Why is their economy nothing more than foreign handouts? Duh, because they spend all their money on rockets. Well, again, another lie, and even if it were true, Israel is imposing an illegal blockade and siege of the Gaza Strip. Israel has imposed concentration camp-like living conditions in the Gaza Strip. That's not true. They left in 2005. They redeployed in 2005 around the perimeter of the compound wall that surrounds Gaza, built by Israel. And yet again, they streamlined their occupation by installing Palestinian subcontractors to do Israel's bidding. Hamas just squandered the opportunities given to them. Why isn't Gaza another Singapore? Well, it might have to do with the fact that every so often Israel launches another high-tech murderous bombing campaign, which it calls cleverly mowing the lawn, and further restricts access to basic human survival needs in the Gaza Strip, which is unanimously condemned and decried by the entire world community.
Wonderfully done. And shout out to Rathborn, my brother. Love you, brother.
We are fighting. I have 48 attack helicopters. I am a colonizer. And I am a decolonizer. And we are fighting. I have 48 attack helicopters, 2,200 tanks, 250 jet fighters, and 170,000 active military personnel. And I don't have food, water, electricity, or fuel. I have human rights. And I don't. I have hang gliders and bulldozers. I took their home. My home was taken. I'm backed by the world's greatest empire in human history, and I live in an open-air concentration camp. I'm in constant violation of international law and face no accountability ever. I'm recognized as the single greatest humanitarian crisis on Earth. I have completely encircled my enemy by land, air, and sea and have them hermetically sealed off from the rest of the world. And about half of my population of 2 million is children. I constantly violate ceasefire agreements, and I uphold ceasefire agreements until they're broken. Both sides are bad. I'm very
Stu. All right. My Miss America, that's his girlfriend, I guess. All right, Burn. Okay. Ratburn is such a funny guy. But he knows what he's doing. Yeah, Israel versus Palestine for dummies. Okay, so this is the last thing you're going to do. It's by Rathburn.
We made response videos to this guy. He's just, oh my God, you brought up PragerU. I've got to play you this clip. Here it is. Do y'all know this guy? He's come after me on TikTok, and then I've made response videos to this guy. He's just a PragerU slop lord, dishing out the imperial neocon slop. He's very much pro-Israel. Anyway, he was on Fox News on Laura Ingram's show, and let's just roll this clip. This is just so especially vindicating for me because I've actually gotten in arguments with this guy. So we appreciate these kinds of moments. Anyway, enjoy.
Their plan is essentially to spread this propaganda throughout the internet by using sorry guys.
All right, let's go to RA's Cam. Get yourself together there, my friend.
The launching of missiles from densely populated urban areas like the Gaza Strip, it essentially they want people to see what is happening. I'm sorry.
That's all right, Ari. I want to get.
Oh my God, he choked. Nervous. Oh, wasn't that funny? Tell me you enjoyed that. Your average Zayat supporter. Apparently Elmo is had to go to the Western Wall recently after he made some anti-Semitic remarks. He says he sincerely apologizes for the hateful comments and actions the past couple of days. I see now that the Jews are actually the chosen people. We should treat them as such. And nobody is forcing me to say this. There's none.